All right. So, welcome everybody. We're about to get started. Today's episode is called Medicaid Meltdown: How the Big Beautiful Bill Can Turbocharge Your Private Pay Home Care Business starting 2026. So, yesterday, July 3rd, 2025, the House gave final approval on the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, otherwise known as HR 1. The Senate already squeaked it through at 51 to 50, and now it's sitting on President Donald Trump's desk waiting for what is predicted to be an almost certain signature. So now at the start of this, I gotta say really clearly, this is not political commentary. I don't care who you voted for, who you intend to vote for, and what political party you align with. You could vote for the spaghetti monster as far as I'm concerned. What we are here to discuss is this 900-page bill and how it brings about over $900 billion in Medicaid cuts, the elimination of provider tax financing, much stricter eligibility rules, and all of this is set to get started on October 21st, 2026. So for home and community-based care, that's HCBC. All right, that's a 2-year countdown to leaner waiver rates, fewer covered clients, and if you're not prepared, a whole bunch of bad. So in this video, Miss Barker and I are going to tell you exactly how you should be preparing this runway to build a more resilient private pay engine. We're going to talk about why 30% private pay mix can double your margins when Medicaid shrinks. We're going to talk about how to package concierge bundles that families gladly pay for, and more importantly, how to market them. All right. And we're going to talk about proven marketing tactics to help you find more affluent and long-term care insurance clients. So let's go ahead and get started. Just remember, if you guys are watching us on YouTube, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. That really helps the algorithm, and it tells me what type of topics you guys want to listen to, whether having guests on helps or not, and the future of the channel. Really appreciate your guys' support, and was just checking through numbers the other day, and those of you that know me know I love numbers. Only about 30% of you are actually subscribed to the channel. So I would love if a few of you just hit that subscribe button, and it really helps out with the algorithm. All right, fantastic. So before we get started, welcome, Sarah. It's always a pleasure having you. Sarah is with the Senior Care Sales Solution, and she has this amazing academy that if you guys haven't checked it out yet, please, by all means, check it out. There will be links in the description below, or you can always find her on LinkedIn or here on Facebook. And she is as bad as I am when it comes to all of this. So if you send her a message, you will likely get a response right away. So let's go ahead and get started. Tell us a little bit more about yourself, Sarah.
Julio, first of all, thank you so much for having me as your guest. I think we've known each other going on 4 years, and I'm incredibly grateful for your, professional collaboration and our friendship. You are definitely a numbers guy, which makes it so unique when we come together and have our conversations and collaborations. So I am the founder of Senior Care Sales Solutions. I have a background in doing home care business development. And what's interesting is it wasn't even until about 3 years ago that I realized home care agencies took Medicaid, because I had always worked for agencies in which it was private pay or long-term care insurance. And so the way that I was trained, and then what we train to through the Senior Care Sales Solutions Academy, and our Connect Forward training program, which is the ongoing coaching, it's all things focused on marketing, business development, sales, to attract and retain private pay clients Now, as part of those private pay clients, you've got people that have the funds to pay out of pocket, or they do have an LTCI policy or a combination of both. But I also am a strong proponent for identifying alternative funding solutions that can help uncover the money to help them pay out of pocket for your care. And those ones, of course, are life settlements, VA aid and attendance, the big bad scary reverse mortgage home equity line of credit. Not the right fit for everybody, but absolutely the perfect fit. So those are all the different ways, right, in which you can have somebody paying privately for your services. Julio knows this, but I have been preaching for years
Mhm.
about the crucial importance of diversification in your referral source portfolio. That diversification in your referral source portfolio means that you are adding legal financial professionals to the mix. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean that you're going to get a volume of clients per year like you typically do from your healthcare accounts, but the referrals that you get from the legal financial referral sources are financially qualified, referred sooner, and essentially
Mhm.
pre-sold because of the advisory level influence of those professionals. And the bottom line is that the referrals from those types of professionals have a much higher lifetime revenue value. So
Yeah.
again, we need diversification if you guys want more private pay.
Absolutely. And that is a great segue into what's coming down. So why do we need to diversify? Well, let's take a look at this. There's an iceberg coming ahead, and there's no stopping it. The fact is, there are $915 billion in federal Medicaid caps and repealed FMAP boosts. So states are going to be scrambling right now. They're trying to figure out how to close these gaps, and they're going to start trimming anything that they consider optional. Okay, just keep that in mind. All right, the reality is that these caps, HR1, it pretty much converts today's open-ended Medicaid match into a per capita cap. Okay, so that's going to start with each state's fiscal year 2025 spending, and then it's going to go from there. I know, whole lot of jargon. So what does this mean? This means that over the last decade or so, okay, personal care wages and attendant care utilization has been growing about 4 to 6% every year. So while the cost per incident has averaged about 3%. So by 2027, fiscal year 2027, this gap is going to be projected to be around 5 to 8%. So every dollar above that cap is now coming out of each state. So those of you that have been complaining and hearing that, hey, my state Medicaid doesn't pay enough to me to cover my caregivers, well, I'm sorry, but it's about to get worse. Okay. The fact is, the bill also removes the 10-point ARPA and FMAP bump for these services um, a year earlier. So what this means is that instead of losing it on in 27, budgets are going to start getting hit hard. Remember this date. Come back to this video if you want. October 1st, 2026. Assuming everything continues as plans. Remember, there's always challenges and everything else and amendments. This is as of today, as of July 4th of 2025. This is what's going on. But it's going to roughly remove $8 billion a year from HCBS budgets across the country. So this is money that was earmarked almost entirely for provider rates and caregiver compensation. Okay. So this is where all of this stuff is going to come in. So optional services are always going to be the first to go. So what's that mean? A lot of your waiver programs, this is going to be a problem. Now, people are like, oh, okay, oh, bad, orange man bad, Trump's evil, all of this other stuff. Hey, great. Again, I don't care about your politics, just like you shouldn't care about mine. The reality is, this is just a repeat of 2011. All right. During that time, and this is where we're getting the numbers from, okay? During that time, there was a 3 to 10% across the board cuts when the Obama administration made changes to the Medicaid and Medicare. Everybody calls it Obamacare, and everybody cheered it along because nobody bothered to read the bill. Just like now, people are calling this big, beautiful bill, and you got people that love it, other people that hate it, because very few people actually read the bill. But let's look at, again, the numbers. California, back in 2011, they cut 10%. South Carolina, 3%. Every state in the country, okay, 23 of them specifically, during the time of what is today known as the Great Recession, back in 2011, when Obamacare and all of this other stuff was going on, all right, they all clustered somewhere within the 5 to 15% range. All right, it's not new, it's not something unique, it's not anything magical. It's what sucks about budgets. When we have a budget that we have to work with, listen, when my household, my when I'm overspending, my wife is overspending, my kids want something extra, we got a budget for it. Same thing is happening now with the federal government. Love it, hate it, make it political, don't make it political. I don't care. Deal with it. That's what we're here for today. All right. So the other big thing that it does is that it removes a safety valve. Two-thirds of states today prop up HCBS rates with quality assessment taxes. These draw on a federal match. If you want to know which section it is, section 71115, section 71116 of this bill, HR1, big beautiful bill, are what phase those taxes out. So this is going to eliminate a huge tool that states have historically used to avoid outright rate cuts. And let's be realistic. It's not, as much as I love, we're all in this business because we love taking care of seniors. It's not about that. This is all about getting elected and politics, and that's all it is. But without those reimbursement rates, you know, that some people are going to have to figure out, some states are going to have to figure out better ways to balance the books. So what's the timing? Fiscal year 2027 is when the pain begins. Okay. So the cuts take effect October 1st, 2026. That's the first day of fiscal year 2027 for most states. Okay. So you guys have about, I'm going to say about 15 months, 16 months to get ready for this. Okay. So that means you can start to see adjustments for personal care, attendant, and homemaker services. The predictions are, as of now, based again on historical data, 5 to 15% lower than what they are today, unless states can backfill with general fund dollars, which a few governors have said they're going to try to do, but this is what it comes down to. So the math behind the cap plus the FMAP clip, it pretty much guarantees that states are going to trim the fat somewhere. Some are going to trim it by using HCBS rates, by dropping them. Others are going to cut other programs in order to fund the senior care services. But either way, somewhere along the line, 5 to 15 cents of every Medicaid dollar that you're being paid is going to disappear. So what does this mean? This means that we need to start building stronger private pay mix during this year and a half to 2 year runway. It's not a luxury, it's insurance against a rate sheet that could possibly shrink as soon as July of next year. All right. So that being said, a little background and a little bit of what's going on. Now let's talk about solutions. All right. Fact is, private pay equals control of cash flow and a cushion. All right. Just something simple, 20 to 30% increase can help keep your margins positive, even after these Medicaid cuts. So as of now, we're looking at, and please tell me what you've seen, Sarah. $28 to $34 an hour is right around the average in different parts of the country. Yes, there's outliers like New York, which is 40. Parts of Jersey, which are like 36 to 38, and then but for the most part, this is what we're seeing in
And
the
then you have
private pay.
Southern California,
Oh, and then you have
which
Southern
is like
California, which
approaching 50. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, Central California also up by LA. I got a couple of clients up that way that are yeah, we're looking at 50. Some parts of Washington State over 50, at this
Hmm.
point. But if we average it out, it falls right in that 28 to 34. Families are paying this. Here's the facts. Seniors aren't going to get younger and healthier. You know, that's a fact. Families can't always stop working to take care of mom, dad, and grandma. Look, I'm Cuban. In my culture, it is unheard of to let somebody come in and take care of the family. But you know what we learned in America? People got to eat. So that means that while we're working, sometimes we have to get outside help. And a lot of other cultures, a lot of the Asian cultures, a lot of now there's a big influx of people from different parts of Africa. All of these cultures are coming in and we're all realizing the same thing. If you have to work, somebody's got to sometimes watch mom, dad, or grandma. It's not always it's a luxury to be able to take time off of work, so it's cheaper to pay somebody to come in, watch them for a couple of hours while we have our lives. So private pay. This is now from what you've seen, Sarah. Have you seen that usage has gone down or up in home care over the last like 2 years?
Of private pay? Well, I mean, everybody wants private pay. We get quite a few clients that come who are heavy Medicaid and they want to diversify into private
Yeah.
pay. But as I said in the opening, private pay is all I know because it's all
Right.
I ever really did. The key with private pay, it starts with being able to identify the types of professionals that have those types of clients that have the ability to
Mm.
pay privately and hopefully the
Yep.
ability to pay privately for a longer period of time. Now that's not to say that you cannot source private pay clients from your typical healthcare ecosystem accounts such as the hospital and the skilled nursing facilities, your home healths and
Hmm.
hospice companies, right?
Right.
But we just know you tend to get smaller, shorter cases from those accounts. So you
Yep.
want to definitely still focus on those accounts. That's more your volume play. But I'm telling you, Julio, I have been preaching this for years, and it always surprises me at how few people will actually take action on this. People love the concept when my team and we talk about diversification by adding legal financial, but um, compared to the amount of people that we teach about it and those that actually take action, it's very few. And it's unfortunate because we know
Yep.
the clients of ours that do actually start targeting these types of referral sources, we see results and we get
Right.
success messages from them saying, oh my gosh, it's exactly like you said. I went to this
Hmm.
estate planning council and I was the only senior care professional in a room of 50 advisors. Or I have a success story right now with a client. In 6 weeks time, multiple face-to-face meetings with wealth managers. That's the category that we're facing on right now, just wealth managers,
Yep.
already a 24/7 case. So if you think about a 24/7 case and how much revenue is that?
Oh yeah, you're looking at roughly
$1 million?
24 to 28,000 a month on average.
Yeah,
Now,
so on average, if that client's
mhm,
going to last, if you have a disease or diagnosis of dementia, otherwise able body, funds are not an issue, right?
yep.
So
Oh,
that
you're
case
looking
is
at
probably
10,
going to be
7 to
two
10
plus
years for a
years.
client. Hmm.
Mhm.
Yep.
So rather than driving yourself crazy and operating so chaotically with like so many cases, focus on getting the larger, longer lasting cases. Now, and I know that for some of you, this may sound terrible the way that I'm speaking about this. And
Hmm.
myself, when I started in the industry, it would break my heart when I would be doing assessments with families and they couldn't afford our services. I really was losing sleep over it, right?
Hmm.
Because I do believe that every senior deserves support, right, and help. But I had a manager that said, listen, we just have to be thankful for the agencies that take those clients. That is not our focus. Our
Yep.
focus is this type of client. So when I'm talking about business this way, I'm really trying to communicate to you guys you have to decide what type of business you want. And as Julio is educating you guys on this big, beautiful bill and the effects that it could have or will have on your agency, you are at a pivotal point in which you need to make a decision. Are you going to weather that and just keep doing things the same way and
Yep.
weather those cups and the reduction in your revenue? Or are you ready to take action and start adding more of those bigger private pay cases? But
Yep.
ultimately, the decision's up to you. But none of that will happen. You won't start getting those bigger cases unless you start focusing on those types of referral sources,
Yep.
you follow through, and even
And
then,
shift your
you
mindset.
increase the
That's another
delivery.
big one. Yeah. And
Mhm.
shifting the mindset, because operationally, when you look at your business holistically, it's not as easy always as to say, I just want to start doing private pay. You have to be able to align your team. You have to be able to align your methods. You have to even sometimes be willing to take a short-term loss for a long-term gain. So that might mean bringing on either better qualified schedulers and care managers. It might mean bringing in and hiring that high-end business developer that knows what they're doing, that's connected, or hiring an agency that that will headhunt for you. That's something. It's another video I'll do another day. But sometimes paying 20,000 for to a headhunter is cheaper than all the mistakes you're going to make trying to hire your own.
Yeah.
So these investments into your company are going to increase your private pay, and again, it brings about more control of what you're doing, better cash flow management, and it'll give you that cushion. Look, on average, you're looking at, for net profit, it's you have to bill 3 Medicaid clients to equal the net profit per hour to of 1 private pay client. On average. Again, it's the exact number is something like, 2.5 something or 2.6, but it's a
Yeah.
significant difference.
And Julio, there's some very simple things that can be done
Mhm.
to position to receive more private pay. So yeah, it starts on focusing, on the referral sources that have the clients that have the money, but also there's simple.
Alright, so apologize, looks like we lost her for a moment. She should be back on momentarily.
Hi there.
Yep, yep, yeah, you're here, you're here. You were? Okay. So, just while we get her back on, so all of these things are gonna kinda build out to it, and here she is again. I
Yeah, it just kicked me out
Technical
twice
issues.
back to back.
Look, this is how
Yeah.
people know we're recording this live. Okay.
It's all good. You know what? Ever since COVID and we started doing things so much more online, I don't even get stressed about that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
So what I was saying is there's
So
some simple
mhm,
things, right? It starts with identifying those people that have your ideal client. And also, don't forget, there's the ideal referral source, the ideal client, but don't forget about your ideal caller. And typically, what we know is that it's the adult daughter that
mhm.
has more money than time, is usually a professional and cares about mom and dad deeply. So, like, put yourself within those circles where you have a lot of those professional women, okay? Because that's our
Yep.
ideal caller. I can 100% with confidence tell you guys that the legal financial. I don't know why I have full service
I
delivery.
do. I think I know
Kicking me out.
why, and I apologize.
It's okay.
Yeah, I apologize. It's not, um, I believe they may be working on the servers for the platform, so I'm sorry for this.
That's okay. We'll just roll with it, and if we have to do
Yeah.
this again, we'll just do it
Yeah.
again. So
Yeah.
some of the other fixes, anybody listening. So if you are going
Mhm.
to diversify into private pay and you want more of that type of business, the expectations are certainly very high because people are paying a lot of money for your services, right?
Yes,
So, everybody likes to say you have customized care plans, but if you're going to be taking on those big private pay clients, it can't just be
they
words.
really
You've got
need
to
to be
get
customized.
actions.
Yep,
Yeah, you need to make sure that you are doing thorough assessments that are,
yep,
not just taking into consideration someone's ADL needs, but their psychosocial needs. Are you connecting them, making sure they've done proper legal planning? Do they have other resources? So really, matter of fact, I just had a conversation on Monday, and this would happen to be with a social worker. And she made a referral to me. I was talking to her, and I took the opportunity to just chat, and I said, "What is the number one thing that you are needing from home care companies right now?" She said, "It would be really helpful if we had home care agencies that would kind of operate from more of a care coordination approach."
right.
That may
Which
sound
actually,
complicated, but I'm telling you guys, that's actually very simple. All she was
yep,
saying was, "Hey, I just want to call you, send it to you. You do a thorough assessment, you put together the care plan, and you figure out what resources are needed."
right. And and this actually brings us to our next point of how you're going to do this. One of the things you want to do is you want to make sure you have these irresistible bundles, these concierge bundles. And that's exactly what she's talking about.
Mhm.
So it means like we have our basic hourly service. And those of you that watch us regularly, if you missed our episode a couple of weeks ago, I talked specifically about this subject. You want to make sure I'll link it somewhere in the description here. But you want to make sure is that you have your basic hour for service. Okay, that's a staple. You're not going to get rid of that. You need to be able to take care of that person that only wants 4 hours 3 times a week. It's what it is. Okay, but you want to make sure that you have things like a combination of like homemaker services along with the tech that will do med reminders, maybe a wellness call, some sort of a flat fee life care package, something along this lines where you have top tier caregivers with a dedicated care coordinator or care manager, right? If they're a social worker, great. If they're a nurse, great. If they're just somebody who's been doing this for 20 years and they really understand all the needs, great. The key is they're paying extra for this service, for this higher tier white glove service, and that person is responsive. You have, you know, you have to be able to show, let's say, for example, hey, you get 8 hours a month of the dedicated care manager along with all of these services for X amount of dollars. Or you can get your hours billed a la carte, but if you want this higher tier of service, you get a higher tier caregiver for your hours and you get all of these additional wellness reminders and everything else. Here's an extra 2,000, 4,000, 8,000 a month. And this type of revenue now allows you to diversify your resources, which is going to help your bottom line all the way around. Along with when you go to these referral partners that Sarah was talking about, these wealth managers, financial planners, accountants, all of these people, they now you're what you're doing, and which again is going to bring us to their next thing. It allows you to shift your sales story from hours to outcomes. Hey, we have a specific bundle that's 24 hours for Medicare. I'm not sorry, not Medicare for Alzheimer's patients. Okay. Oh, really? What do you mean? Well, if you were to get us by the hour, it's 26,000 a month. But we have a higher tier service that it includes a dedicated care manager, specially trained caregivers, round the clock care, and that package is 40,000 a month or
And Julio, if
$35.
I may add,
Yeah.
with the packaging, or even if you're just focused on the private pay, do everything possible to loop into what you're offering some sort of way of tracking the outcomes in regards
Oh
to the family
yeah.
caregiver if you have one. And I'll go ahead and share this golden nugget with you guys right now. Number one, as part of these packages that Julio's speaking about, or even if you don't have the packages and you're just going to do straight hourly rate delivery of this,
Yeah.
right? Taking into consideration customized care plans, focused on ADLs and psychosocial well being,
She will be back momentarily.
I don't know what's happening. I was
Yeah.
saying that find some sort of way of tracking the outcomes, the positive outcomes that you have
Oh,
from the family members. And the way that you would do that is part of your care plans. A lot of agencies will say they have a quality assurance program or they do QA visits, but there's really not any structure behind their QA
oh,
program. So if you want to partner with these higher level referral sources where people are going to be willing to pay anywhere between $35 and $50 an hour for care, or these big concierge packages, you can't just say you do things anymore. It needs to be, what is the actual structured program and how are you collecting the data around it?
yep,
So part of a quality assurance program is that you have some sort of form that the client care coordinator is documenting when they go and see
yep,
the client. But also, I like the Kingston caregiver stress scale. The family caregiver would fill that out every time. And then over the period of time, you can show the outcomes that you're reaching for the care recipient. But
yep,
you can also over time show that through your services, even though the care recipient's getting the caregiving, you are factually, based on data, reducing the stress and
yep.
overwhelm for the family
This
caregiver.
is actually something we go over, that I go over with my clients as part of my referral flywheel program, where we actually give you all of the tools, all of the when you're talking to your caregivers, how you're measuring these outcomes, the and net promoter scores, how we even have the checklist that we'll provide to our clients for these quality assurance pop-in visits. Like
Mhm.
how often should you be doing it? What you need to look for when you're in the home. All of these things are fantastic, and they are definite value adds
Mhm.
value adds to these um to these people, because it's, look, when you're building your private pay business, and again, if you guys are what I highly suggest you do is take a look at our older video, how to build high-end subscription services,
Mm.
and the video we did on the 19th 19th of June 2025, how to get endless home care referrals. We talk about these. These are very specific tools that you should be using and implementing. You should have a matrix of how you rate your caregivers. So this way you're only sending the top tier caregivers to the top tier clients, and that you're using for different clients different level of experience and training on your caregivers. The you need to make sure that all of your operations are built out this way, so that you're creating this endless loop where you're providing a value to the client. This value is going to lead to referrals by proper messaging. The referrals should be included in your reporting cycle, so that this way you build more trust, and building more trust will allow you to get more referrals, which allows you to provide more value, and it's just constantly going through. But absolutely necessary to be able to not just go through and explain it to people, but to be able to actually quantify it.
So customized messaging, Julio, if you want me to share another very
Yeah,
simple golden
absolutely.
nugget that does not cost agencies any additional funds to do this. So I am most familiar with WellSky, formerly ClearCare, but certainly Access Care, CareSmarts 360. I'm sure they all have the capability
Hmm.
of doing this. You need to set up in your agency management software tags, right? And WellSky is called
Yep.
tags. Maybe in other
Yeah, most of
softwares
them
it's
they're
drop
called
downs,
tags.
whatever it is. But you need to have each diagnosis, dementia, Parkinson's, ALS, COPD,
Yep.
CHF, all of them. So that way, when you bring a client onto your service in their client profile, you are tagging or indicating what their diagnoses are. Have a tag for comorbidities, because then it allows you to run the sophisticated reporting. So then you can make sure that you have customized communication with referral sources. So if I'm showing up
Yep.
and I'm talking to a neurologist, I could say 56% of our current clients have a
Yep.
diagnosis of this. Having that data also allows you to tweak the type of training that you're providing to your caregivers, or project, hey, we're seeing an upwards trends in this type of client, so we need to go ahead and target these types of caregivers with that experience. Although Coach Terry on my team made a good point recently. If you can't find the talent, put yourself in a position and start training up the people you have to become the talent that you need.
Yes. Absolutely. This is something that which is our final tidbit here. It's to be able to target these people. All right. You want to make sure that you're looking. Look, it's very simple. They have to be old enough, sick enough, and able to pay. Okay. So we all understand that people need to be, typically when they're looking for services, especially in the private pay space, 78 and up is our target audience. So sick enough, if you're not coming in and bringing in a company like mine where we're doing all of these chronic illness analysis and everything else, and to your point, it it's one of the things that drives me nuts when I do assessments for agencies, is that they don't tag this stuff, and I have
It's
to
so
dig through
easy.
so many hundreds of files, hundreds of lines of files in order to figure out what the percentages are. And so if you have all of this information, if you're not, it'll save you that trouble. And absolutely, if you are not able to bring people in, again, comes into what we talked about earlier with the mindset of private pay versus the mindset of a major Medicaid agency. You're not throwing warm bodies at the problem in
Mhm.
private pay. If you don't have a person on your team, please go invest. It's to have one-on-one custom training is anywhere between 500 and $5,000 depending on the topic. You can bring in people to train your staff. You can, if you all are looking for um, just training programs, yes, you have Reliance, you have Care Academy, you have Activated Insights, that they provide these video trainings. We'll be putting one out ourselves soon by the end of this year. So there's going to be a lot of options for that. You can also bring in different specialists. You have nurses, you have Alzheimer's trainers, you have people who understand how to work with your home health aides, how to give that specialty training. Talk to your referral partners.
Leverage.
Yes,
See,
talk
look,
to
you
those
always
home
have to
health
be thinking
providers, those
about,
hospice
how am I going
providers.
to connect the dots? How am I going to connect
Correct.
the dots and strengthen the relationships I have? So as far
Yep.
as offering additional in-person or virtual training to your care professionals, you don't even necessarily have to pay somebody, because if you have a collaborative relationship with an aging life care manager, right, geriatric care manager, why not see if they want to do some sort of training for your people, right?
Yep. It'll
You're
give
giving
them
them a
more
training
confidence
opportunity,
in
or
what they
pay
know what they're
them
doing.
their hourly rate, and you're
Yep.
strengthening your relationship with them. Or a good friend of mine has worked in hospice for a long time. He used to go in and provide the hospice training every single caregiver orientation that agency did. He came. So instead of the agency talking about hospice, they just leveraged their relationship with their referral source to
Yep.
do it. So
Yeah, it's
it
one of the
has both sides.
it, it's one of the things that I know when we're working with clients, it's one of the things we do early on for them. We tell them, just stop what you're doing. If you don't, go call 3 home health agencies, go call 3 hospice agencies, go call 3 care managers. Negotiate. If they'll come in and do it for free, most of the time they're more than willing to do it, but
Mhm.
bring them in. I encourage all of my home care agency owners to go out and become a CPR trainer. Okay, this way now you have a competitive edge when it comes to recruitment of your caregivers. You can provide the training. All they have to do is pay $40 for the card instead of looking for it or figuring it out. And it also gives you the opportunity to go now to these facilities and build stronger relationships. Your people need it, we can provide it. And it's like you said, having this training, having this additional know how, what it does is it allows your referral partners to trust you more.
Mhm.
I trained them myself. I know they know what they're doing.
Well, and
And
you're
yeah,
investing into your front lines, right? You're
right.
investing into,
And it's going to help your
Julio, you
retention
and I
also.
both have military backgrounds, but your caregivers are your frontline troops. And so,
Yep.
part of good leadership is cultivating loyalty amongst your followers. Well, how do you do that? You don't do that by dictating to them. You do that by proper care of them and investing in them and
Yep.
building them up. And so, the easiest way you can do that with your care professionals is by giving them further training, because it helps them to feel more dignified and have more self-respect, and you're building their skill set. So you want loyalty in your people, build them.
Right. So let's just recap a couple of things here. You know, what we're just before we wrap it up, because we've had a number of technical issues. I've been bumped off twice, and so is Sarah. So before it keeps going, so let's take a look here. All right. Thank you all first for joining us. We really do appreciate it. To get a hold of Sarah, there's going to be all the information associated on there, and next week, hopefully, there will be a blog article associated with all of this, so that you guys can find her information. Um, Again, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe. If you are a returning person, thank you for the support. But please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Okay, it really does help us. The more people you share this with, the more people can be informed. And listen, let's not have the crabs in a bucket mentality. Your agency down the street is not your competitor. They don't have you, and as long as they don't have you, there's enough business for everyone. And if anybody doubts that, please just book a call with me and I will show you with numbers how it's impossible for any one agency to get 100% of the business in any area. All right.
Mhm.
So let's take a look at a few things here to keep in mind before we move along. Okay. So the uh, the status right now, past the Senate, past the House, it's expected to get signed by the president any day now. Okay, so the big beautiful bill HR 1, love it or hate it, for the time being, it looks like it's here. All right, so what this means is we're looking at a few funding changes. All right, so you got the Medicaid per capita caps, you have the FMAP boost is being repealed, and you have the provider tax ban. All of this means total $915 billion less federal support available through the year 2035. All right, so states are going to be scrambling. They're going to be having to figure this stuff out. So why does this put home care rates at risk? Well, number one, HCBS waivers are optional. Please understand that. What is not optional, there is no argument here, are hospitals and skilled nursing facilities. Therefore, they will always have protection first. If after the hospitals are properly funded, if after your skilled nursing and rehabs are properly funded, there is anything left over, and with skilled nursing and rehabs, let me just clarify that a little bit. Um, when it comes to those, it sometimes it's skilled nursing and rehab, sometimes it's home health. Either way, it depends on the mood of whoever's at CMS at the time as to which way they're pushing. Right now, skilled nursing and rehab. So they're getting protected first. Now, historically, all right, historically, we're looking at 5 to 15%. In past downturns. 23 states have done huge cuts to Medicaid. And it's not the states you would typically think either. So, do some research on that. The other thing is that safety valves are gone. Without provider taxes, states have little alternative to rate other than to cut rates or completely freeze slots for waivers. The bottom line, personal care and attendant care, they're going to be cut 5 to 15%. They're going to get a nasty haircut starting fiscal year 2027, which is spring. They start working on them in the spring of 26, and they're going to take effect by October. Okay. So important dates for you to understand. October 1st, 2026. That's where the repeal begins. Somewhere in the spring, budgets are going to start to be written in the different states, most likely they're going to make their rate decisions then. Fiscal year 2027 to 2029, states will completely phase out those provider taxes and they are going to reset HCBS rates. Okay. So, 5 strategic things you need to do right now. Do a stress test on your budget. Run scenarios as to what you're currently billing, knock off 10% and see if your business can still survive. Start growing your private pay mix. You want to get somewhere between 20 or upwards of 30% by middle of next year. If you're not prepared for that, there's companies like Sarah's, companies like mine. There's plenty of other people out there doing this type of work. Figure it out, but you got to get private pay into the mix. Okay. So, one of the ways to do this, you want to start looking at your packaging. If you are concerned about the population you're in, if you are in a traditionally low income area, start looking at affordable packaging for the people that can do this, that it won't necessarily kill your business, but leaves it open for positive cash flow. You also want to start looking at long-term care insurance policyholders. You want to start looking at the proper zip codes. How do you find long-term care insurance holders? Very simple. Wealth managers, accountants. You want to make sure family accountants, not those H&R Block tax preparers. All right. You want to look at real wealth managers, not those Primerica guys. You want to start talking to attorneys, estate planners, divorce attorneys, all sorts of people that deal with this. Elder law attorneys, depending on where you are. They know who has these policies, they manage their money. Go find them, be friendly. And then you also want to make sure that you are engaging trade associations. All right, look, if you are the type of person who sits there twiddling their thumbs and doesn't want to get involved, great. Don't complain when things happen. Your home care association, either your local one or the national one, you have chambers of commerce, you have the National Small Business Association, you have a ton of associations out there that will advocate. Okay? Make sure,
And
yeah, go ahead.
an area that people should definitely start focusing on, these larger corporations, these larger companies within your operating market,
Hmm.
develop a relationship with the HR director.
Yep,
People that are thrust into the role of being a family caregiver, it affects their productivity at work. You have people who are not accepting promotions at work because they simply don't have the bandwidth for increased responsibility. So it would behoove you. It doesn't have to cost you a lot of money, and it doesn't even have to take a lot of time to ensure that those HR directors at
yep,
the businesses in your area are aware that you
absolutely.
exist as a
Those
resource to help their
employee
employees.
assistance programs, fantastic
Mhm.
resource. All right. So, and my computer just told me my battery's dying, so I'm going to make this quick. Here's a couple of key numbers you need to know. $915 billion are going to be reduced over the next 10 years. There's going to be a 10-point cut in FMAP for home care. Typically, you're going to find this happening September 30th of next year, 2026. 5 to 15% projected rate cut, and you've got about a 2-year runway before those reduced invoices start hitting. So the reality is, Congress just put Medicaid on a diet. Optimal home care funding is likely to shrink because of it starting in 2026. You got to strengthen your private pay programs today in order to keep your wages competitive and to not interrupt care for the people that actually need the care. We are in this to help seniors. You can't help seniors if your business goes broke. So just keep this in mind. Use this 2-year window to solidify your non Medicaid revenue streams, protect your agency from the coming squeeze. And just remember, Briones Consulting Group, our philosophy is prepare, plan, rebuild. It's been that way since the beginning, and it's more important now than ever. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you so much, Sarah, for being part of the program today. I hope I didn't just lose you again. We'll give her a moment. Oh, here she is. All right. So as I was saying, thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate your feedback and your excellent advice as always. If you are looking to grow in non-traditional home care marketing, please do not miss an opportunity. Get a hold of Sarah. She is fantastic at what she does. All right. And if you're looking to just take an overall look at your business and just get an assessment in place, give us a call. There's booking links all over the place. Find us anywhere and you can find us. Remember, prepare, plan, and rebuild. It's not just our tagline, it's how we operate our business. Don't
Mhm.
forget to like and subscribe to the channel and share this with a friend that definitely needs to hear this. Thank you all so much, and we'll catch you next time.
Thank you so much, Julio. You are the best and definitely take a different approach.